What is up, guys? Welcome on back to the news with TK, and the opinions are coming in fast and retardedly in some cases. Roll the intro. So, welcome on back to the news with TK. So, outside of one Senate Democrat and John Fetterman, all the rest of them are clamoring and screaming that this is an unconstitutional action that was taken by the president to remove Iran's nuclear capability. I've seen Face the Nation today. I've seen a bunch of other programs where they were grilling Marco Rubio and saying, well, did the Supreme Leader give the order to weaponize it? If y'all don't shut the F up right now about, oh, do you have proof that the Supreme Leader, do I have proof that you don't lick somebody's balls on a Saturday? No, it doesn't matter. Why are you putting a facility hundreds of feet underground? You're not doing that because, oh, they're such good people. They're doing that because they're hiding the shit. So miss me with that BS. I saw some really good back and forth on Fox, specifically on this. And in a bipartisan way, everyone agrees. Now, outside of Thomas Massey, I believe that's his name, from Kentucky, that dude's just like begging to get primaried, I guess. Look, I'm not a warmonger. I don't want to see us go to war, but a surgical strike, a strike that goes in and destroys a rogue nation's ability to have nuclear weapons, which, by the way, we already have one of those in North Korea. Do you want Iran to have them too? Like, let's use some common sense here. Anyways, let me roll this clip.
To hope that its nuclear program has been eliminated, at least for the foreseeable future, and that is a contribution to the world. How Iran now, which has been so recklessly led for so long, will react to all this is anybody's guess. But I do not think that they're capable at this stage of mounting any militarily meaningful action against either the United States or Israel. Yes, they can hit civilians in Israel, and they will kill some, and it'll be a hard life for Israelis running into bomb shelters many times a day for the time being. But I think Iran has been greatly diminished as a threat in the region and in the world.
You know, Harold, in Israel, there were billboards saying it's time to act. Why are you waiting? Now the billboards have changed, and they're all over the place, and they say, thank you, Mr. President. There was a big back and forth with Secretary Rubio today on CBS about the nuclear issue and whether there was weaponization that the Supreme Leader had ordered. Take a listen.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked on the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Went on to say that there's 60% enrichment. The IAEA confirmed that. So they had the material, and whether or not they ordered the weaponization or not is the question.
Good to be with you. I think it is well known in circles all across Washington and foreign policy circles across the globe that the Iranians have been the great destabilizers in this region, as Britt so eloquently said. I think the advantage that we faced over the last few weeks is what some in my party and even some Republicans who may not like President Trump don't like is the asymmetry in how he approaches everything. The asymmetry in how he talks and listens and plans was on full display here. You think about where we were just several days ago when the president said he would take 2 weeks to make a decision when, in fact, the decision probably had been made and the attack was underway. The choreography and capabilities and the execution of this mission astonishing in so many ways. But I think the second part of this is where the hard part is, and we all agree with this. How do you not only satisfy your own party, Mr. President, how do you satisfy the rest of the country? Because there is a fatigue around war. But for those tonight and those of the last 24 hours who are more focused on process as opposed to results, I say get your head out of the sand. What we accomplished last night was pretty doggone important. I feel much safer, and the country and the world is much safer today. Now we have to work towards ensuring that we don't escalate this thing and that the world can indeed be safer going forward by welcoming Iran and the Persian people, 60% of them under 30 years old in that nation, into a new world order.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of current and former military, Kayleigh. They say this is not just about Iran. This is also the world. And China is looking at this, and Russia is looking at this. He gave a warning, he gave a chance for diplomacy, and then it was over, and he pulled the trigger.
Precisely. Every dictator in the world is on notice now. And I think if you think back to President Trump's first term and the actions he took in taking out Soleimani and taking out al-Baghdadi, in 2017 when Syria used chemical weapons on its people, airstrikes there, everyone was on notice that this is a president who identifies a moment of action and takes it. Now, last night, more than ever, they understand that lesson. This is a powerful message, Brett. And to the isolationists out there who, say, oh, why would you take this action? This isn't America first. I can tell you what is not America first, allowing nuclear proliferation among rogue regimes in the Middle East. If you are someone who is against U.S. involvement in the Middle East, you should very much be against the idea of Iran getting a nuclear weapon and then Saudi Arabia potentially clamoring for one, and so on and so forth. Every president from Clinton to Obama to Bush to Biden said Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. There's one president who was able to stand in front of a camera and say, these nuclear sites have been totally and completely obliterated. Those were his words. We will await the damage assessment. But one president has spoken to action. Others have spoken to words.
Britt, I hear people who have concerns about getting drawn in. I also hear people who have flashbacks to Iraq and WMD and all that was said by 17 intelligence agencies around the world about WMD in Iraq. So there are reverberations here that people are cautious.
Yeah, people are bringing up Iraq. We've been somewhat paralyzed by Iraq and the way it all turned out. I think that paralysis is now past us. I would be greatly surprised if this situation, which I think was very different from the one in Iraq. I mean, Iraq didn't have any underground nuclear facilities going on. Yes, we were afraid they had WMD, but we hadn't really seen them. All the intelligence services in the world thought they had them. That's how they acted. In this case, it's a very different situation, and the likelihood of the intelligence being accurate on what they're up to seems to me quite clear, and the president was justified to act.
All right, panel, stand by if you would. Up next, what we've learned in the last 24.
So like I said, it's, Harold Ford Jr. is a Democrat. And to see him siding with what the president did and the awesome ability for the Department of Defense to carry this out and it not leak or not get out in the press, and just do it so clearly, so decisively is awesome. Regardless how you feel about the president, awesome. And it has pushed back Iran's ability to get a nuclear weapon or build a nuclear weapon significantly. Despite what you've heard in the media, I'm telling you, significantly. Now, all the other BS that's going on right now, I think there's a lot of people, it's funny. There could be a building burning in DC and Trump could stop his motorcade, get out, run into said building, save a kid, and the Democrats would find a reason to go after the president for it. They would find a reason of why didn't you leave that kid in the building to burn to death? Like that's just literally where it's at this point. And what they don't realize is people that maybe don't like the president 100%, the more you keep doing this, there's a reason why the polling is coming more and more and more towards the president's side. You're literally pushing people to the president. So keep it up. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what we do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friend.